Hi, welcome to the Salty Spiritualist and another episode of Let's Get Real with a Pinch of Salt. And what's on the plate today is getting to the heart of matters, and that is spelled with a $sign. So let's get started. So I have seen the $sign with 1 bar and with 2 bars. And what is the difference? The 1 bar $sign is a healing sign, like Moses with the brass serpent on a pole. And also, if you are familiar with Greek gods, Asclepius, the god of healing. The 2 bar $sign symbol is a symbol of commerce, or a symbol of the god Hermes. Okay, so now that we have that straight, because I've seen it misused. So remember, the 1 bar is healing and the 2 bar is commerce. And beware of anyone who's trying to sell you something and they mess those up. I'm just saying. Okay, so how do you perceive money? How do you use money? In our world, money equals power and authority. The haves and the have-nots, if you will. And we are led to believe that money certainly buys freedom. In our world, that certainly appears to be true. However, how do you utilize that freedom that you bought? Freedom appears today to be the ultimate power, doesn't it? A reminder here, one is born with freedom. The world as it is operated by mankind is what teaches us the have and have-nots. Okay, and I hear you, but I don't have any money to buy my freedom, much less what I need. Okay, first, isn't freedom and what you need one and the same? Second, I would ask you to consider the following. When you work and receive money, what do you primarily spend your money on? Things you want or things you need? There are people and or organizations that use their money and yours to maintain their sense of power and the freedom that they need to create a world they want according to their own will and desire. When you think about the things you buy because you desired them but did not actually need them, you gave your money to a person or an organization that may have lured you based on your desires or even your fears. And then what they do with the money they have from you is to purchase or create what they desire. Think for a moment about that. When you buy what you need, i.e. food and clothing, and by clothing I mean sensible, not necessarily extravagant or trendy. Okay, it is a transaction that gives you sustenance, meaning you are nourished physically. Without this product, you may suffer in a very life-threatening way. This is a need. Think about this for a moment. Now consider this scenario. When someone wants to control another person, for instance you, and take what they have, what you have, for themselves, what is the most subtle way to do this? I mean, I came up with 8. I'm sure you may have experienced more than this or have a different viewpoint, but 1, they offer you things that you desire and not necessarily need those things to survive, but you are somehow convinced that you desperately need those things to live happily. And then you keep buying these things. thus funding these people, organizations, and even governments, i.e. through taxes. Okay. 3, then you may not be able to afford these things that you were convinced that you need. And 4, meanwhile, keep this in mind, meanwhile, these people, organizations, governments, have proceeded to purchase or gain influence with the necessity for survival producers, providers. Okay? So then you, of course, you can no longer afford these things you want, but you are still paying for the necessary for survival items. So these same people are still obtaining your hard-earned money on both fronts. At some point, you may not even be able to afford the things you need. And this is where the point comes in. Then these same people, organizations, governments will offer you ways to earn what you need. And you feel forced to comply because you do not want to die. So they're playing on your fears. The end result, these organizations, people, governments, own you, lock, stock, and barrel, so to speak. When you find yourself in the final state of being owned, you have effectively contributed to the organizations, people, governments buying your freedom. Not with force or aggression, mind you, but through your own willingness without much thought on your part. Does that make you weak or unworthy of freedom? No. But it does indicate that you may want to be more cautious of where and to whom you spend your hard-earned money. Money may not grow on trees, but faith does. And that is your pinch of salt.